These brothers were hunting deer in a desert, but unfortunately, one of them found a cave filled with monsters that had been buried for hundreds of years. Until finally something happened. At the beginning of the film, there was a man named Donnie who was aiming at his prey in a desert. But unfortunately, his focus was disturbed by his brother named Eric. Donnie and Eric did not get along. Their relationship was like oil and water that could not even mix. Even though Eric was just joking, Donnie did not like it. Donnie looked for another place to hunt, and he saw a trail of blood. It seemed that Donnie's shot hit the deer. The trail of blood led Donnie to a cave that looked abandoned. Donnie entered and found a thick liquid that was quite disgusting. Donnie looked using his small flashlight and found the deer wrapped in a kind of cocoon-like liquid. Then not long after, there was a big monster that hit Donnie until he passed out. Donnie was unconscious for several hours. Then he woke up out of the cave to his car. Donnie tried to contact Eric, but his phone was left in the car. Where is Eric? Since that incident, Donnie often felt dizzy in his head. When he entered a stop to drink, Donnie felt even dizzier until he fainted again. He faintly heard local residents talking about the monster that had haunted the residents there for several years. 3 months passed. This man in white was named Jag with his coworkers. They were police officers. Then Donnie appeared bringing important information to Jag. For the past 3 months, Donnie has continued to try to provide information to Jag about Eric's disappearance, even though Jag knew that this seemed in vain. Jag felt that Eric would never be found. Jag felt sad because Eric was also his friend. Donnie's search seemed not to be taken seriously by Jag, let alone his coworkers. During that time, Donnie continued to live in regret and still wanted to find Eric's whereabouts. But Donnie didn't stop there. Donnie came to a professor named Carls who worked on a campus. At that time, Carls was giving lessons to his students. Carls was a professor who handled pathology problems or similar things. After class, Donnie talked to him about the incident 3 months ago. Donnie and Carls seemed to know each other. Donnie was sure that he could still find Eric at the last location where he fainted. Carls would help Donnie and trust him. Meanwhile, on the other hand, there were 3 young women in an abandoned lake. They were bathing there, but unfortunately, they were attacked by the same monster when Donnie was attacked. In the morning, Donnie got information from Carls that there was an incident last night. Carls wanted Donnie to check it out. When they were about to leave, one of Carl's students named Morgan asked to come with Donnie. Morgan overheard Donnie and Carl's conversation, and she was sure she could help him with this. At first, Donnie didn't want to involve anyone else, but in the end, Morgan was invited to the location that Carls had given. The location turned out to lead to the place where the 3 young women were targeted by the monster last night. 2 of them were torn apart, and their bodies were destroyed while the other one's body was covered like a cocoon. Morgan took a blood sample, and when they left, they met Jag. Donnie felt that this would be a problem. They returned to Carl's and gave a blood sample that Morgan had taken. The results of the sample showed that there was a parasite that made human blood its host. The sample showed something aggressive. Over time, human DNA will disappear and be replaced by new cells that infect it. But this can happen the other way around if there is no match in humans. This further strengthens whether it is possible that Eric disappeared because of the monster. Donnie was asked to go home and rest while Carls and Morgan would do further research. On the way home, Donnie felt like something was following him, and sure enough, there was a figure like an alien that looked like a human disturbing him. Donnie lost control, then he stopped to find out. The creature reappeared until Donnie fired a shot at him. The creature seemed to want to say something to Donnie. He didn't even kill Donnie. That look reminded Donnie of Eric. Was that creature Eric? The next day, Donnie came to Morgan and asked where Carls was. Morgan said that Carls had left earlier. He didn't say where he was going or what business he had. Then not long after, Donnie got a call from Jag. Donnie felt that there would be a problem with them, but on the contrary, Jag felt that Donnie might be right. Jag took Donnie to an old place when he used to be with Eric. An uninhabited cabin was often used as a resting place for them. The cabin used to be used by Donnie, Eric, and his father when they were little. Donnie was asked by his father to always look after Eric. The two of them had to always be together no matter what. Their destination was not the cabin. Jag then took Donnie further into the desert. There Donnie found Eric's bag. There was a trace of mucus that was similar to when he met the monster. Not only that, Jag then took Donnie to find a cocoon that was empty. Does this belong to Eric? Donnie vowed to kill the monster. Not long after, Morgan appeared and they returned to Morgan's apartment. Morgan had a thought that Eric was still alive, but with a new body. Maybe the cocoon really belonged to Eric. Maybe the alien creature that attacked Donnie was Eric. They had to find out more. They remembered the cocoon that contained the young woman. Dooney and Morgan secretly entered the secret government room. The cocoon was there and there was movement from inside. Not long after, the cocoon broke and a young woman who had become a monster came out. The woman attacked Morgan until she injured his waist. Not long after, the police arrived, but they became the monster's target. After killing 2 police officers, the monster suddenly disintegrated and only left a pile of flesh. Since being hit by the attack, Morgan has become dizzy and often has headaches. He hid it from Donnie. At that time, Jag invited them to meet and show him something. It was about Carl's. Jag secretly took some important files from the authorities and were confidential. It turned out that Carl's was one of the scientists who was conducting research on the monster. They named the monster Baru. Even the name Carl's was his pseudonym. Their research failed because it was discovered by the government. The monster escaped and nested somewhere, and coincidentally Donnie met. It became clear why Carl suddenly disappeared and was never heard from again. When Jag parted with them, he saw someone watching him from across. Jag came to him entering a building. There Jag got an attack from the alien creature. Was he Eric? While Morgan and Donnie looked for other evidence in Carl's room, it turned out that Carl's had been doing research secretly involving his students, including Morgan. Unfortunately, it seemed that Morgan's DNA did not match the DNA of the monster. Therefore, he was rejected. Until now, only Eric's body has managed to survive and adapt to the DNA of the monster. Donnie was taken to the place of one of Morgan's friends to be hypnotized so that he could find out what really happened to Eric, and himself when in the desert. When Donnie was attacked by a monster, Eric appeared and tried to save Donnie. Eric lured the monster out of the cave until he was attacked. Donnie had to find where Eric was, hoping there was still a way to make him normal again. But unfortunately at that time, Morgan seemed unable to come along because the scar on his waist was causing him pain. As a result, Donnie himself went to meet a scientist who had worked with Carl's, Mrs. Linda. Mrs. Linda could not explain everything because if she did, she would be threatened. Mrs. Linda hoped that Donnie could return Eric if his DNA did not match the monster. When returning to the car, Carl's was suddenly there. Carl's brought Donnie with him because he knew where Eric was. Donnie was taken to a building, and that's where they met Eric, who had become an alien monster. It turned out that Donnie was attacked by Eric that night. Carl's explained everything that really happened. What Jag said was true. In the past, Carl's and his colleagues found a creature from nowhere. It could be from space or an alien. Carl's and his colleagues tried to research and wanted to unite the monster's DNA with humans. Even animals were used as experiments but failed. Until now, only Eric's body has been able to adapt to the monster's DNA. Unfortunately, when he was still a human, Eric did not take good care of his body, drinking and even taking drugs. And the only one who was most similar to Eric was Donnie's DNA. Carl's would let Eric prey on Donnie there. Donnie initially couldn't bear to see Eric like that, but in the end, he realized that Eric was gone. The one in front of him was no longer his brother Eric. Donnie killed Eric with regret. Meanwhile, Carls burned Donnie's car and disappeared again. On the other hand, when Donnie returned to Morgan's apartment, he saw many blood spots and traces. Then Donnie saw something coming out of the window. Was that Morgan? Donnie tried to chase him and saw the figure eating someone. And sure enough, the figure was Morgan. Morgan had turned into the monster, and it turned out that his DNA also matched. The police came to stop Morgan, but Donnie asked him to run away. The police accidentally shot the gas cylinder until an explosion occurred. A few months after the incident, Donnie was accused of being the murderer. He was put in a mental hospital. Carls came as he wanted to try to do research on him,